Hello and welcome to the ARCHLine webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth and today's topic is getting from 2D drafting to BIM. Now, today I'm joined by Vanessa Malese, one of our users, who's going to help us to understand how our software could help you from getting from 2D to actually to BIM. And the way this next 45 minutes is going to look like is that first, Vanessa is going to talk more about what he is doing, because what we believe he is doing is very much in line with what you would expect from our software. After that, he's going to show a couple of one of his example projects in which he's going to explain what he did in ARCHLine and how that transformed the way he works. And in the end, my colleague Ilés Pap, who is now out of the frame, but believe me, he's somewhere here, he's going to talk more about how the software can get you to BIM and what kind of BIM tools we have to enable you to comply with the new standards and workflow legislations. Please note that you can comment during the whole duration of this webinar in the right hand side of this window, and these questions are going to be dealt with at the end. Make sure that you understand that this is going to be recorded, so your contribution would be kept on file by us. Before we go more into the topics that we are going to discuss, we first start by asking our guest here to introduce himself and tell us more about what he's doing.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Vanessa Malese. I'm a draftsman from Belgium, and actually I make all kind of plans for architectural drawing. I also work for big companies like Essers and Alfred Talke, and I do all kind of plans people ask me to do. Mm-hmm. Can be visual, can be 2D drawings, 3D drawings. Can be anything. So,
and what kind of buildings are we talking about? What kind of projects?
It depends. Sometimes for the bigger companies it will be concrete halls, mm-hmm. and sometimes it also develops with pipelines or mm-hmm. Actually a lot of materials. But it also can be houses or big buildings, or can be actually anything they ask me to do.
What do you think is the hardest part of what you do?
I think the hardest part will be the knowledge, because actually now in Belgium the regulations are really strong, and actually this year in February everything became even more difficult, and everything became more difficult. So actually with all the regulations about energy, mm-hmm. You have to combine everything. It's not like drawing, but you need somebody who tells you how thick the wall will mm-hmm. be, the insulation. So it's not about drawing anymore. It's a complete system where you have to work together with other people.
Okay, so you have to collaborate with others.
Yeah.
So now we are not only talking about drawings, but also information-based.
Information.
Right? So
yeah.
that's pretty much going towards the BIM direction, even though it's not, as far as I know, it's not compulsory in Belgium yet.
No.
But things are moving in that way.
Yeah, it's like actually when I start a drawing or I start drawing a building, first I ask somebody who does everything about energy, and he will decide how the building is gonna mm-hmm. be built, because we have to from standards we have to reach some kind of number we have to reach, and he's deciding, and that's before we just started drawing, and now somebody tells us how thick the walls will be, and the insulation on the roof and everything. So the whole building has to get a number in Belgium, and that's what we have to reach. And first somebody will do all the calculations, and mm-hmm. then I come in and I start what he has made the calculations. So
the reason you actually found us and started using ARCHLine is because you wanted to comply with this regulation.
Yeah, it's not only that, but I wanted to comply everything. That means like the normal CAD program, you only have the 2D drawings, mm-hmm. and then you have to start 3D, and then you have to start exporting to another program, and you have to calculate everything. So I was looking for something that does everything one time.
Yes. And it's everything will be in one package.
Yeah.
How did you actually find us?
Actually, I was looking for a program to combine with my like a disto tools, and actually I was looking at a few programs, but I didn't find something that went further on the normal CAD programs. I had to relearn everything, so I was looking for something that was actually logical to work with.
I see.
And
something that builds on your existing CAD skills, I assume.
And I saw a movie about ARCHLine, and that's how I became interested. And I saw some movies, and I thought this has to be what I'm looking for. And I did a trial, and after that I bought the program, and that's how it started. I learned. So I bought the program in October.
Yes, I think last year October.
Last year October. And so actually now it's going better and better to draw things. And
before we started this session, you told me that you were learning the software besides while you were working, so you had limited time.
Yeah.
But realistically, how many projects do you think somebody has to complete until he becomes I'm not saying proficient, but until he understands what this is about? Because switching from one CAD platform to another one is a big deal for those who don't want to spend that much time in training. So how long do you think it would take to learn this from?
It's actually, that's a good question, because you also have to think about the time. It will go quicker if you learn the program. So it takes some time, but afterwards you can actually cut 2-3 days from a whole plan. So that's the thing you have to think about. But I think with some help from ARCHLine, because that's actually a good thing, they work with Skype.
Yes.
And they actually they open your project and they talk with you about what you need, and also the needs that are important for you, not for somebody else but you, because everybody draws it another way. And actually
that's exactly a huge issue, that everybody has different regulations to comply with, everybody has different workflow ideas. And when designing a CAD software, you always have to think about what people would expect, what kind of features they would expect, while at the same time you have to keep it very open for people to work
that's
with.
true.
And that brings up a whole lot of issues. Every country has different regulations, but there are some things that everybody wants to do. For instance, collaboration, being able to open PDFs and DWG files. So
and also what's really important is, like, you want a program that draws the way you want to draw.
Oh yes, definitely.
And not like, I like it, but it's not really like I want. And that's actually, here you can change everything you want to change.
Yes, customizable things. That's a huge issue.
Yeah, and you can store them, so you don't have to search every time again for the right things. So actually you just save all the things you did, and then you can you reuse the same wall again, or the same roof
yes, you can
again.
Create your own templates.
Yeah.
That's right.
So actually with the templates, so actually in the beginning it takes a bit of time to learn, but afterwards
With
you save.
you
save a lot of time with the drawings.
There is definitely a learning curve. Let me now talk a little bit about the software itself, because for some of you who are watching this show, you might have not tested the software yet, so it might be a relevant question from your part, is how our software, what the special thing about this software is. And let's talk about we have a couple of bullet points of how we try to be the software of choice for those who want to turn their attention to 3D modeling and BIM modeling. Now, we like to characterize ARCHLine as a very intuitive BIM design software based on known CAD skills and tools. And that's a very important point that you mentioned, that we try to use those tools and practices that you already know. What I mean by that is that you can draw with intelligent objects such as walls, doors, and windows, but you also combine layers and you can manage floors. So we try to use the very same tools that you might already used in 2D or 3D softwares.
That's right.
Now, a very important thing about this kind of approach is that we try to put everything into one file. Now, this might not be this might not sound as a big deal if you just think, but if you think about it, you realize that the whole BIM concept is that you have one BIM file from which all relevant documentation such as floor plans, 3D models, sections, elevations, documentation, estimations could come from. So instead of using many softwares to create the floor plans, the renders, the estimates, you have one file in which everything is available. But that also means that if you have files from other software, or you have colleagues or co-designers who use other softwares, you can still use that data. So it's not like that you're working in a very isolated environment. You can work together with others seamlessly because you can use their files. You can import PDFs and JPEGs, but we also support IFC. Actually, our IFC import-export has been certified by Building Smart last year. So this is a fairly new addition, but that's what makes our software BIM software, that you can import and export IFC, the industry foundation classes, which is a standard file of BIM. You can also import DWG, which I don't have to introduce to anybody, and also the RVT formats. Not to mention that we integrate with the SketchUp warehouse. So what we try to create is an environment from which you can pull data in from other softwares, and especially that is very useful if you work together with others. And that's how the software tries to create a smooth transition from 2D modeling to BIM. It's not that you are thrown in the middle of an unknown software. It tries to get you from 2D drafting to 3D modeling, and then tries to introduce the BIM parameters to a workflow, and essentially you get to project sharing with others, which might not be relevant for all of you, but the whole BIM concept is that when you share the information from one place to the other, it's not getting distorted. Now, the way we try to aid the transition from other softwares to ours, and basically from 2D to BIM, is that we host a lot of online workshops, webinars such as this one. We also have online videos, but we also have a live product demo and support. And what Vanessa was telling us is that we have support sessions via Skype or TeamViewer. We can actually share screens, and we can show you how this works, because we do understand that the first couple of steps are very problematic. I mean, I'm not saying problematic, but it takes a long time until you get from introducing yourself to the software until the first sense of accomplishment when you finished one project. I don't think you have mentioned how many projects did you do until you complied this one, what you're going to show us.
Actually, this is my third project. So the first one I did, I was actually also looking for how it worked, and what also is a good thing about the program, there are also still the basic tools like lines and things. It stays in the program, so you can always rely on the basic tools we're known to use.
That's the idea, yes.
Yeah, but actually with the program you don't trim walls anymore. Actually the things that made a lot of work for drawing are actually not there anymore. So you don't trim a wall anymore. It goes all automatically
connected.
Connections are automatically. All the hatches are there automatically. So before I drew all the lines, and then I had to hatch everything. So it's all.
Try to cut back on that one.
Yeah. So actually, it's all there in one time, and and that's what I like the most about the program. If you draw the 2D, the 3D comes up in the other screen. So actually, I don't have work to pull up all the 3D walls and windows.
Yes.
It's already there. So actually, you are doing two things at the same time. And also the flexibility to draw in the section, or draw in the 3D, or draw in 2D. Or it's actually in the beginning you have to search a bit, but if you're familiar with that, it's amazing. It's amazing to do.
Now, how about we demonstrate that?
Yeah.
So let me I'll give the control to you, where you are going to show us the project what you did entirely in ARCHLine. So you said that the first couple of tries you did things in separate software platforms, but this was, as far as I remember you telling me, this was the first thing you did entirely in the software.
Yeah, I did one before. I did one house before, and with some help on Skype, I actually could finish the job and deliver the job. So actually, what you see is actually the windows. So the most used window is the window we know is the 2D window.
Yes. Can you tell me more about what this building actually is?
This building actually is something that was actually something I made before, but on demand from a client to make the building. It's actually a design where we have to ask permission to build. It's gonna be built at the sea.
The seaside.
Yeah, at the seaside. And actually what I want to do is to give people some private space outside, with a beautiful view, and to have nice apartments. So, and also nice terraces. So actually I used there, I also used some floor, some glass in the floor.
Skylights
Yeah, skylights to give more lights. So that's actually a beautiful thing. And also there is a parking underneath. And I actually, now I finished one apartment as a model,
as a sample. Yes,
yeah, it's still going, the project. I still have to finish some things, but actually now it goes to the client again, and I can show him now this phase and ask him what he thinks about it, and then we can restart. I can start finishing all the details and everything.
How long did it take for you to draw this?
Actually, to draw this, it was 4.5 days. So for me, before I would take much longer. Actually, because I have now the 3D and 2D. So from design until where I'm now, it took me 4.5 days.
What was the most difficult thing about this plan?
I think the most difficult things are actually the technical parts. So I still have to finish them, like the isolation has to run through, there's not coming any cold inside or any moisture inside. So actually that's where you can see here the buildings, all the details. So I still have to make some finishes,
clean up some.
Yeah,
some
to clean ups, but
that's basically a dynamic section. So every time you do something, it updates automatically. Do you ever have to send your drawings to your clients for approval preliminarily? So even if you're not finished, do you ever have to send it to them?
Yes, I do that a lot to let people see the progress and let people see how it's working and how far I am. And also to prevent, they say like, I don't like it, so I don't want to redraw a lot of things. That's for me the most important thing, to get the client involved in what I do, and also prevent to redraw things. So that's actually very important.
What kind of tools are you using in the software to keep your clients informed? I think you mentioned me that you did an animation as well.
Yeah, I did an animation as well. This is something I use. I send them just the movie. They can walk through, they can see what's changing, what's happening. But also there are a lot of other things like the PDF files. You can send 3D PDF files.
Okay, that's nice. So they could see how the work progresses.
Yeah, can see the progresses, and that's actually for me the most difficult thing was to learn to think in floors. So that's the big difference. If you see, this is a 2D drawing, but actually what you do is you switch the floors, you go up.
Yes.
And that's in the beginning is that's a bit, you have to see you have to see this. These are the floors, and in the beginning it's a bit strange how you make a 2D drawing with floors. So, but in the end, if you're used to work with this, it's much easier. So, and it's really flexible. To use this and actually
even copy elements.
You can even make actual floors visible. That means if I want to see that floor, I can see the floor
as
underneath,
as a watermark.
As a watermark, and I can also use it to snap or and actually that is a really good thing to prevent mistakes. So that's a really good tool. You actually have all the floors above each other, and you can sometimes you see the wall is not nice aligned.
Yes, it's not overlapping, and there are some issues over there.
So
is there any chance you could show us the animation what you did?
Yes. I had the movie. It was over here, I think.
Just let's see, because it's separately saved to.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So how does that work? You map out the path what you want to show?
Yeah, I make an animation path. I set the cameras. I set the surrounding, 3D surrounding. I put in some materials like tables and kitchens, and so actually this is not completely finished, but this is the first step to show people, give people an idea,
impression of how it's
yeah,
going to
and
look like.
actually also how the space is used, and that's an important thing to see how the space is used. In this matter also you can actually stop the file and you can make it go on. You can see actually what you don't like. People can say, can you change the window? Can you change the window size? Can you change the kitchen?
And it actually saves a lot of time, because it's not that the clients would also only tell that to you at a later stage, but you see instant feedback from them.
That's a really important thing. And also they can ask you to change the lights or change other things. So actually that works really good and gives also a very good impression of how the space is used, and if there are any changes, even for in this stage, even colors can be chosen.
Yes.
And so that's actually a really good thing to see that you see.
Love that one.
Yeah, I gave you some extra at the end.
Thank you for that. But it's a very good way of, again, informing your clients.
Yeah.
So because your clients might not be able to open up CAD files, but they can open up.
Yeah, that's always a
videos.
big difference. Like for the people like Hash Essers, a very big company, they're worldwide. I work for an engineer, and he's familiar with DWG, but actually he doesn't use that a lot because that's not his thing to use. He's more like an engineer. He's calculating things, and he's thinking about how can we make the machine work even faster, and how can I use the products to clean, and where do we put it, and he's not actually busy with drawings, and he don't like that. So I always send him a movie. And
it's easier to visualize.
Yeah, so actually in the beginning he was asking me just like the technical drawing with lines and the technical things actually, but I started to draw it really in 3D, the pipes, and all the rest, and he loved it a lot, and now he only asked me to make the movie. Because that's what he shows the client, and the client just want to see the finished part. Client has no about a 2D drawing, he can't see the things, and it's flat, and so actually he has no impression of how it's gonna be, and here you can actually,
this way it's easier to visualize.
Yeah.
But that's a very good issue that you brought up, because it's all about sharing the information, and that actually takes us closer to what is part of our discussion, how BIM comes into the picture. Now you mentioned a couple of things how you are standing with it, but what I would like to see is that when it comes to transition to BIM, what do you think is the biggest problem with that?
I think the biggest problem with the BIM objects is to see you get the files that are not too big, because if the files are too big in surfaces, then you get the possibility the drawing is becoming slowly, and so
huge amount of data.
Yeah, too much data. You need the data, but it can't be too much. And for example, like here I took some shower elements, and with the help from Skype, they told me like this was too big actually to use, so it's better to remove that and to search for a less big file, because it's gonna be slow down the drawing and slow down everything you do. So that's a really important, and actually of course there comes also the computer is really important.
That's right. You need to have a huge machine for that. That might be an issue, because whenever you want to upgrade to a BIM software, sometimes you have to consider that you not only have to buy the software but also bigger computers. So that's something what we also try to tweak to make sure that the software, our software, runs on machines which might not be top notch. What I would like to know from you is that, do your clients ever ask you to draw in the BIM standards?
Yeah, it happens. It's more like, for now I can see what I want to do for myself, but actually more objects, and that's also what I love about this program is if you use a toilet, it's a toilet that exists and that you
So
can sell.
It's not an
It's
a
not.
symbol.
It's not.
actually
Yeah. It's not an object taken somewhere and then the client say like, yeah, where did you took it? In the program are actually well-known toilet articles and things that you can use, and if the client like this, you can also sell them or use them
Yes.
actually in the project. And that's also a good thing to have real objects, not things that maybe exist or use in a render, and
Again,
then
that has collaboration with your
yeah.
clients and,
So,
and co-designers.
yeah.
Actually, what I think would make sense at this point is that if my colleague Illich Pap would jump in to actually talk about the BIM aspects of our software, to actually show you a couple of tools what we offer you to become more proficient in that field. So I'm going to give the word over to Illich here, and since it's a smaller screen now, we just have to switch places. I'll be back at the end.
Thanks, Zoltan. Yeah, I'm gonna grab the mouse in a second. So, well, I'm Illich. I'm an architect and also an ARCHLine.XP tutor, and I'm glad to be together with Vannes here, talking about his project. And in this aspect, I would like to show you a little bit of the functionality of ARCHLine.XP as an architectural design software, as a BIM software, which is, I don't know if we mentioned already, but it's a BIM an IFC certified BIM software, allowing you to export and import those BIM data. And the point is that you will get less data loss using the IFC format than communicating via the DWG files. And I don't know how you experience that during your work, but when you have to communicate in 2D, then you always have to, you just mentioned, you always have to bring up the 3D, which of course ARCHLine is able to do so. But if you can communicate in DWG or in IFC, it's a total different level. Let me just quickly grab my screen here and show you one of the projects that I have downloaded. So, I mean, this is an architectural project made in ARCHLine earlier by a different user. I just use it to demonstrate what sort of things you can fill up like BIM data and how to export that data. So if you have a building like Vannes had his own building, you build up real items like walls, sanitary ware as you mentioned, or windows and other parts, and those parts are not only coming with geometric details which you can change at any time, but they also come with BIM parameters. At the left hand side you can see you can fill up with article numbers, other data like price or even thermal insulation values that you can later export to some software where you can calculate the energy cost of that software. So based on what you design, you have different values that you can change, and when you import a project from for example another software, then you will have those information. So if I export this into an IFC file, which you can do at any time using the file, export and IFC, then it will become an IFC file, and you can import it in an IFC certified software to work on it. Or if I show you the other way around, I'm importing an IFC file now, and then I show you that there are several options. You can actually start a new project with that, or you can merge that IFC file into this project. It depends on what you would like to do. Now I will open a new project and I say, yeah, this is what I would like to open. I think I will just open up a basic sample project of a different software manufacturer's project package. So you will see that whenever you load something designed in a different software, you won't only see the lines and the 2D drawing, but you will actually see real existing architectural items with all that IFC data in them, which happens in a second. Now the software opens this file. It depends if the project is large, too complex, and it takes a little longer. But at the end, you will see the 3D and the 2D as well. Just as one has mentioned here, the default layout of ARCHLine will be now showing you the 2D and the 3D parallel, which I think is a good control. You will see the changes, right? When you do something in the 2D, you'll see the changes in 3D. It's a good thing to have. So now it's opening up. The 2D is now just generating, and there's the model. So you can see that this is a layout with actual slabs and walls and objects and terrain and everything there. If I go to the 3D and I zoom in here and I select this item, this is actually a wall, so I can change its parameters. I can also check its BIM parameters. Whatever was already attached to this item is still living together with this item, and when I work with it and I export it to third-party software, this data is all kept there, so you will conserve the most of the data that's necessary. Do you have something to say about this?
Yeah, actually it's like the control you have to see both of them, because most of the time I think everybody like me works on two screens. That means one screen, what you see here is the 3D, and one screen is a 2D, and the flexibility to actually select something in 2D and change in 3D or all the way around is actually the control you have prevents a lot of mistakes, and that's actually a really good thing. You can work in both of them, because some software you can't work in the 3D. And that's actually a pity, because sometimes you want to make changes explicitly there. So that's the control. And even in the section, in the section you can actually adjust a lot of things, and so that's a really good thing to have this control, to see maybe beams that are wrong or yeah.
Yeah, I think yes. Well, I can also tell you already that we have an agreement with BIMobjects.com, which allows us to create a connection, a direct connection to BIM objects, which you mentioned to me earlier that you already used that portal to download objects from and import into ARCHLine, right?
That's right. It's actually the 3D warehouse is that's a thing I really like. If you look for something, you just
and 3D warehouse,
3D warehouse. You just take something, you throw it in the drawing, and actually it throws 2D and 3D.
Yeah.
So it saves a lot of time. If actually I'm looking for something like a tank, I just go to the 3D warehouse, I take the tank, I put it in my drawing, and I have a 2D and 3D, and I can even make sections.
I see.
That saves a lot of time for some things you are looking for that actually are not in the library, or and even after that you can always retake them from the library. So that's
talking about those things, about formats and things like that, let me show you visitors this chart which we assembled, which easily shows the most important file formats. These are not all the file formats that ARCHLine is able to communicate through, but these are the most important file formats. And I think earlier we already had a question about communication with energy calculator packages or software. ARCHLine.XP also allows you to export data to the green building XML file, which makes it possible to calculate those information. And as you see, there are data 3D, 2D, also listings, and the most important thing, there are the two most important file formats: the IFC at this left hand side, and the top is the DWG and the DXF, which is still very popular because of the 2D documentation which you can communicate via. And then so that's the thing. That's how ARCHLine communicates with the rest of the world, in and out. That's how you can import model. So I think that's it. Mostly about the documentation and this IFC export and import. One more thing I would like to show you, if we can just quickly switch back to my screen, is there are other possibilities, like for example, if you now still we don't have the direct connection to BIM objects, which will be there soon, but if you would like to download something from a portal like warehouse or 3D warehouse or the BIM objects, but you cannot do it directly, you can always download the file and you can import here. I just want to show you the import options. Here you can import the several file formats, like for example you can even import Revit files directly, and then you can take I don't know, previously downloaded portal that you can insert to your design. Thank you very much. So that's it. That's what I wanted to tell about the possibilities of ARCHLine in a nutshell. Yeah.
And I'm coming back to the picture again. I think we can even fit. One thing what I sorry, let me just come here. So
get friendly.
One thing what Vanessa was telling me, and I think it's worth repeating, is that what's the thing what you would recommend to somebody who wants to start using our software? So what do you expect?
I think the most important thing is to ask help, because for me it's the same. Like if you give me a PDF with help with 300 pages and you have to search for things, then I think the motivation is not there anymore. So I think the best thing to do is just ask for help online on Skype. So actually your project can be opened and you can actually get help for the things you need, because I'm also I just ask for the things I need and how I want to use the program, but it's that flexible. You can actually do almost anything with it. So turning things around. It's really a program with a lot of possibilities, but you have to find the way what's the best thing for
take
you.
Your time.
Yeah, and
What
take the
works best for
time.
you, yes.
Yeah, and actually it pays off if you take the time to learn it. Afterwards, it will pay off to get the speed in the drawings.
That's your advice in a nutshell, to take your time and
take the time and also ask for help, because that's the most important thing. That the support is actually for me, you have to understand, like I saw this program in Hungary and I didn't know what to expect, and then you have to buy something and you don't know, and we have very good programs in Belgium, but they didn't fit for me what I wanted from a program. You couldn't draw in a 3D things. When I exported things, half was not there. So actually I had more time to restore it, and so actually I bought a program and I'm really happy with it. So but I'm still learning, but actually what I think I can do now and what I show my clients is like actually 20 times more than before. So I can actually show, and when they see things they say, wow, they really love what they see, and I can make an impression, because you only sell when you give something that people say wow, because there are a lot of draftsmen, and so you have to make the difference, and
the competition there.
Yeah, and specialize in things, and give something that's really that really has the wow effect.
Yeah,
so
the wow factor.
yeah.
That sums it up. Thank you, Vanessa. Let's give the word over to the audience, because I think we already have some questions what we have to answer. So there's I think you can see it better. So can you just let me just read it out to you. So there's a question on if our software can connect somehow with PHPP software to exchange data about passive and active houses.
Yeah.
What? Yes, passive and NZB houses.
Yeah, well, I think that's something that we discussed a frame ago when I talked about the connections to several other software. I don't know which software specifically the commenter is asking about, but first I would offer to try the GBXML output and ask us if we can help to to improve the connection if it's not at first start it was not perfectly what the user wanted. So yeah, try the GBXML and then ask us. I think that's the best I can ask.
There's another question on how to export quantities.
There are options in ARCHLine also at the export field, and there are several other commands where you can export either XML files, but most importantly Excel files, which is, I don't know if you use that feature.
Yes, I use that, and it actually tells you like what are the openings of the building, like the window openings, the stairs, the floors, the surfaces, yeah, the total square meters, and actually it goes very far because it's a large file, and you can actually use each part and even export it for another program.
You use it for calculations for the price or cost estimation?
Not yet, but
Mm-hmm.
that's actually because I actually in now in Belgium you also have this thing like they are really working on energy.
Mm-hmm.
So like a passive house, you don't have even you need more isolation.
Yeah.
It has to, you have to do the blow test, so it has to be completely sealed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually that's also where you get more layers and more foils to close the building.
Yeah.
And so even the windows. So, and actually I think that's a great advantage to have all the numbers. It's not like you have to draw and measure things. You just click inside the room and you know how much square meter you
Yeah.
have and how much cubic meter
For the
you have.
flooring or for the painting.
So
You told me that you can design colors and things like that for the wall
Yeah.
paints. It's also useful that you get all the data. The painted surfaces are also something that you can extract from the software. So actually, whatever you design, in a nutshell, to close the sentence, actually whatever you design in ARCHLine, you can extract the data for further calculations, either in an Excel file or from some specific format to do the cost estimation or the calculation for other jobs.
Mhm.
Here's an interesting one. Is it possible to put the model on actual terrain so that this person can show their clients how it would look like?
Well, actually, we just talked about it. So I have a project that I think I can load now. Let's just yeah. I think I need my screen.
Yes, you need
So,
one
yeah.
right there, I think.
Yeah, so I think the project that I used before can be a good one. Let's just open this in the welcome screen, and let's just go with this one. I used this file as a tutorial because it's a topic now, how you can import terrains into ARCHLine. Actually, you can also visualize that project. Now it's as you can see, it seems like it's floating in the air because that's only the background behind it. So there is no real terrain. But if you go there and you set up the north direction, the location of the building, which you can do in File, BIM project parameters. Here you can also set up the project location using either Google Maps or other services. Then you can use the Google Maps integration. And then you can either import only the map, or you can also import the terrain itself with all the 3D data. We actually talked about this feature with
I just learned to use that.
Yeah.
And actually, if I can mention this,
Yeah.
it's not like
In the
you put
meantime,
you just put your building there, but actually this data is really correct. So you can make a shadow analysis for actually, because sometimes we have really people say you're gonna take my light and you're gonna take my shadow.
Yeah.
So actually you can make an animation to show each time where the shadow will be, and actually it's not like you put the building somewhere and you have some data. You have really the correct data. And it's actually a nice thing for
what you talked about, I can quickly show about the shading and the shadows. You can at any time turn on the shadows and then tell that, well, you are looking for the shading at a specific time, and when you turn this shadow on, then it will be visualized. Or let me show you another thing. If I load the Google 3D warehouse, I mean the Google Earth, it will just load up in a second. And I open up this here, there is this model loaded, and then there you can see it also in the real 3D environment. If you load the file, you can actually export the KMZ file, and then when you load it into Google Earth, you can see it with the proper surrounding, because already the satellites can build up some sort of 3D data, like these are real 3D buildings here. The only problem could be that if the measurement is not that accurate than what it was when you built up the model, your model can be slightly off, like it's half in the ground, but it's not a problem. You can still fix it. You just go to the project settings here at the left hand side, and then you say that, okay, in the properties I would like to fix this model. I think we need to fix the altitude, and I just don't use the value that I used, but I clamp it to the ground. So that means it's automatically moving together with the ground. So wherever I move this building, it will automatically stick to the ground. And then now I can just refine the position if I'm not satisfied for any reason with what I've got, and I can also rotate it so better fitting the original surroundings. So this is how you can visualize. And here as well, also in Google Earth, you have the possibilities to study the sun, how the sunlight goes around, and then you can show that.
That's basically what we had time for today. So let me just come back to the picture. So thank you very much, Vanessa, for sharing your ideas and impressions with us.
You're welcome.
This was the first installment of our webinar series, where we are going to keep on posting materials like this one, which will not only show you what the software does, but how it's being used by our clients, because what we plan in the office and what we develop in the office might be adapted to what you are doing with some adjustments. So it's always nice to see how it's used on the field. Thank you very much for joining in, Ilyes. Thank you very much for your help, and thank you very much for your collaboration and the questions. We see you next time when you will get a newsletter on when the next session is going to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Hope to see you next time.